I think the supply chain cuts that we've seen over the last 2 weeks with Apple, they all came after Apple reported their own earnings. So oftentimes what Apple will do is report their own earnings before they notify suppliers. So I don't think this round of cuts is necessarily incremental to Apple's December quarter. However, it does indicate what's fairly obvious at this point is iPhone, various versions of iPhone are not selling quite as well as what Apple would have wanted. And what I think that brings into question is, what happens when we go into Q1 and we go all of next year? And I think that's what the market is worrying about right now.
Yeah, and you got a hold rating on Apple. In terms of the semiconductors in general, Chris, I mean, we pointed out that you downgraded the sector at the beginning of October. Since then, the Philadelphia Semiconductor Index is down by just about 10%. We had seen the declines, though, in this group even prior, obviously, to the sell-off that we saw in October. Do you think the worst is behind the sector?
I don't think so. At least I don't know so. And in semis, you generally have two problems when you're in a downturn. I think that's what we're facing now. One is the demand picture is a moving target. And obviously, some of these Apple suppliers only were notified just a little over a week ago that the demand picture has weakened. And again, we don't know what will happen, toward the end of this quarter and next. So, that becomes a bit of a moving target. The other bigger problem is that over the last year, we probably shipped more into the channel than the channel consumed because supply conditions are very tight. And that gave customers the incentive to build inventory. And that inventory burn, the magnitude of that is very difficult for semiconductor suppliers to assess at this point in time, which is why a lot of these guys just don't know, what the demand picture is going forward, and it's just, it's a difficult situation. So with that, it's hard to call a bottom.
With that said, you do have overweight ratings in your coverage universe. NVIDIA is one of them. NVIDIA seeing somewhat of a pop today after Citron Research indicated that it was long now in NVIDIA, a name that it had previously shorted. Is this the time to go in, Chris? I mean, you just said that it's hard to see what the supply and demand picture is.
Right. Well, on a relative basis, NVIDIA, at least after, that report and the big guide down, they've taken a big chunk out of the expectations going forward. And for general in semis, that's what we're looking for. We're looking for companies that have come to the confessional, talked about, the fact that demand is in fact weaker, try to dial it into the estimates. And at least with that, you've got some better chance of, having that in expectations and in the numbers. And, out of all the companies reported so far, NVIDIA is one of the ones that's confessed the most.